This is Miss Cornell, and today we will be learning about macroevolution. If you have not watched the microevolution video, please do that first because macroevolution is a product of microevolution. Remember that the prefix macro means big or large, therefore, really big evolutionary events are occurring here. The definition of macroevolution is large scale evolutionary patterns and processes that occur over long periods of time. We are going to be talking about four types of macroevolution: extinction, adaptive radiation, convergent evolution, and coevolution. These are all really large scale evolutionary patterns that happen over really long periods of time. I would like to start with extinction because this is a topic that you all know about and have heard about. So, extinction is when a species no longer exists on our planet. So, why does extinction happen? It happens because of collapsed food webs, increased competition for diminishing resources, and environmental changes. So, why can some organisms survive? Some organisms that are able to survive are species that were able to adapt. Failure to adapt is actually resulting in extinction. So, these organisms are able to adapt and change in order to be higher in the food web. They're able to access and get those resources, and they're able to change with their environment, and therefore they survive. Those that cannot survive and adapt to these conditions are going to die and go extinct. Next, we have adaptive radiation, which is another form of macroevolution in which a single species evolves into several different forms. Darwin's finches are our best example of this. So if you look at the picture on the bottom right, in the middle, we have one finch, and that would be like our original finch that was introduced or came to the Galapagos Islands. From there, they underwent different genetic mutations, and then via natural selection, they were able to adapt into many different versions based on the environment they were living in. And as you can see in the picture, this is due to what they were eating. So fruits and grubs and insects and leaves. Um, Adaptive radiation is similar to homologous structure, where one organism at the beginning evolves into many different organisms that use their limbs for different functions. So, for example, in our evidence for evolution, we learned about how the human arm and a cat leg have very similar structure. However, they are used very differently. So the bones are the same, but we use our arm and a cat leg for different functions. Adaptive radiation leads to a lot of variation and genetic diversity. So, just kind of a very important thing to end on with adaptive radiation. Convergent evolution is in contrast to adaptive radiation. Here, this is a process by which unrelated organisms come to resemble each other. So, similar environments are producing similar adaptations. Convergent evolution is very similar to our analogous structures. So we have a whale, turtle, fish, and penguin. Their appendages, the fins and the foot, are going to be used very much the same way. However, anatomically, they're going to look very different. So the bone setup is different. And you can see in the pictures here on the bottom, the bird wing and the butterfly wing, they are used similarly for flying. However, their structure is very different and they live in similar environments. The shark, which is a fish, the penguin, a bird, and the dolphin, a mammal, again, they all live in a similar environment, the ocean. They use their flippers for same function, swimming. However, if you look at the anatomical pictures on the bottom, their structure is very different. And lastly, we have coevolution. Coevolution is where two species evolve in a response to one another over time. And if you remember back to our ecology unit, we talked about relationships. So, for example, we have predator and prey, where we have the gazelle and the cheetah. Those gazelles that are faster are going to be able to survive and escape the cheetahs. So, in response, the cheetah has to evolve and change and become faster in order to catch those faster gazelles. Other examples are the dog and the human. We have a plus relationship there where both are benefiting, and also in the bees and flowers. Some flowers produce nectar, some don't. Those that do produce the nectar are rewarding those bees, especially those bees with the furry bottoms that are able to come and pick up the pollen as they're trying to get that nectar. And then they're able to help pollinate and pass on different traits and things like that. Flowers that do not produce nectar are not going to um, attract those insects in order to be pollinated. And this wraps up our lesson on macroevolution.